missed it. Can you come again? We all know what happens, right? I mean, it's really, he had zoned out. Okay, there was something else flowing through his head, and suddenly he heard his name, and that brought him back to that moment, right? It happens to all of us, right? So the question is, right? I mean, last week we talked about meditation, right? And we kind of said that it's really speaking, it's effortless focus. We can remain focused in the current moment. That's fine. Let's say we bring ourselves to a state of focus, right? But like Mahesh mentioned, right? Hey, this mind, it seems to wander all the time, right? How do we declutter the mind? How do we reduce mental chatter, right? Is it possible, right? And so today's session is just going to be briefly touching on that. Okay, there is a heartfulness technique called cleaning, which precisely does this, right? It's really to remove the clutter from our mind, to reduce that mental chatter so that we can experience, really speaking, space within ourselves, within our mental spheres, within our emotional spheres. So that, that chance of actually bringing our mind to focus, okay, it becomes a possibility, right? Let's just briefly talk about it, and then we'll actually experience the technique. Go to the next slide, Partha. There's a fundamental premise on the need for cleaning, or really what happens, okay, in the phenomenon that happens within us, right, is this: that anything that we use, it takes on the effect of of some kind of a characteristic of the environment, right? So we use our dresses, like today morning, if you look at your
discussion, I'll call you after 3:50.
Sorry, if everybody can go on mute, please. Thanks. So if anything that we use, right, it kind of takes on something from the environment. It picks up, gathers dirt, right? So it could be your dress, okay, it could be your table where you're sitting, right? If it's clean now, it's because possibly a janitor has come and wiped it down, like this morning. They've cleaned the floors, they've cleaned the bathrooms, right? Your shirt is cleaned and ironed, somebody's taken care of it, right? Anything that we use, it will take on the effect of the environment. It will get dirty, right? Next slide, please. And we all know that we have a mechanism by which we can bring it back, okay, to cleanliness. We take a shower every day, twice perhaps. We clean our clothes, okay, we wash our dishes, right? And my wife, for example, right, whatever time of the night it is, okay, sometimes she's ready to drop dead after a long day, right? But she will not come to bed, okay, go to bed, unless she's cleaned her kitchen sparkling clean, right? And it's very good, because the next morning, she says, otherwise the next morning I get in, I can't get in, I can't work in that place, right? So that's the amount of effort. That's what we take, okay, in terms of interest. Interest, like, when we work with things outside of ourselves, right? Next slide. But what about ourselves, right? We have this thing called mind, right, which we use all the time, right? What is the stain on us, right? Next slide, please. There are two kinds of stains, very broadly, right? One is very simple, it's physical, right? I go to the gym, I'm sweating, I'm stinking, I come back, I have a shower, I'm fresh, right? I mean, and on a hot day, like, it's humid, we're sweating, like, or we go work in the garden, like, we're all dirty, greasy, we work with our car, we open up, maybe I'm the engineering type, right? I mean, I fix something in my car, do an oil change, like, and I'm all greasy, right? But I use some Dettol, I use some soap, like, I'm fresh, right? Next slide. But what about something else, right? There is another aspect of us, right? I mean, the mind is what makes us human. If you take out the mind, like, we're fit for the asylum, right? When we use that mind, right, there's a lot of emotions that we deal with, right? I mean, it might be sadness, it might be anger, positive and negative, right? It might be ecstasy, it might be fantasy, it might be fear, depression, hurt, okay, prejudice, meaning being mocked, okay, by people, ridiculed, or maybe just one crass, unknown comment, like, people in a moment of fleeting fancy, somebody says something and it hurts me, right? I mean, I can't believe how Jane can make such a comment, and how can she say that about me, right? I mean, and every time I look at Jane after that, like, there's something is broken within me, right? And there's a colored perception. Each one of these emotions, okay, that we deal with, these it kind of puts a baggage within myself, right? I give you an extreme example just to make a point, right? I mean, my brother-in-law, okay, smart, brave, tall, 6 feet, like, sportsman, like, he's an accountant, like, very successful, right? Extremely afraid of dogs. He said, like, well, at the age of 8, like, a dog chased him, like, around the road, like, and he sees a dog and he's vanished from the scene, right? I mean, he can't stand the sight, right? This fear inside, right? I mean, that's just an extreme example, but small things, right? I mean, yesterday, if somebody has told me something like, which was inappropriate, right? And maybe he just mentioned it in a moment of what do you call, just in passing, right? Meant as a joke, right? Maybe he crossed the line, right? But every time I see this person, like, it's like colored glasses. I see them through colored glasses, right? So if every emotion actually adds colored glasses, right? And let's say you have a yellowed colored glass and a red colored glass and a green colored glass, what can we really see? Are we really perceiving reality, or we're conditioned by our past, right? And if you're completely conditioned by our past, right, how do we really break free? How can we look at what needs to be done at this time, like, and how can we really be in the moment, like, and respond to each situation based on its merit, right? The other thing, right, many times, like, if you had a long day, let's say you had a tough day, right? Let's say that a customer has been screaming, like, I mean, you had an escalation call with the board of your customer or whatever, right? And let's say, like, and something has not gone right on the project, right? I mean, and you really worked long, and when you go back, right, I mean, you can feel the burden of emotions, right, on your shoulders, right? It's almost as if the world is just pulling you down, right? What do you do? How do you erase that slate? Okay, we can go take a shower, we'll become physically fresh, but what do you do to unburden yourself, right? Is it possible that we can take a eraser and we can clean our emotional makeup, right? And next slide. So that is really where, this is the effect of impressions, right? Many times we sleep, like, and whatever has gone through the day, we feel that it comes out at dreams, right? It again speaks to, yes, that these impressions exist, right? But it's not happening then and there. It's somewhere, this is an imprint, emotional imprint within me, which comes back as dreams, as nightmares. We do things again and again. We like seeing things too much. Emotionally, we attach to things, right? It becomes habits, becomes tendencies, becomes character, defines our behavior, right? I mean, and a lot of this, okay, we're not able to let go, we're not able to become mentally free, emotionally free, and be in the moment and enjoy the moment, right? And I'll give you an example. Let's say that I've had a tough day, like, a lot of irritation, right? I come home with irritation, and this is my loved one, meaning my wife, my young daughter, okay, and they are looking forward to me coming home, right? And my daughter, let's say, opens the door and says, "Hi, daddy," and she has a smile, like, but if I'm still, like, lost in that irritation that's carried in the day, I said, yeah, okay, I put my bag, like, and I go, I'm irritated, I'm grouchy, I sit around, right? We say that we can only radiate that thing which you have. So if we have, irritation within us, we have fear within us, like, we have all these emotional baggages, that is what we'll radiate, right? And is that what you want to give your loved ones, right? But then what can I do? How can I work on this and really remove this, from my inside, and that's really, next slide. And that's really, like, where cleaning as a technique really comes in, right? At the end of the day's work, this is a technique which we will experience right now. Okay, it will help us in some sense, like, we enabled with this technique, which will help us, like, um, clean our emotional baggage, okay, unburden ourselves, like, and remove our emotional baggage, right? And when you do that, the difference is something, like, which you can feel almost palpably, right, in a short period yourself. Okay, we call it lightness. It's a lightness of spirit, right? I mean, lightness of where your steps are buoyant, like, where you are more in the current moment and not stuck or anchored to something in the past which happened during the day or yesterday or last year, right? And that's what, like, this cleaning is about, right? So without going any further, okay, what I would like to do is to actually experience this cleaning technique, okay, and we'll do it for about 20 or 25 minutes, right? And Mahesh, okay, and the lady who asked, right, I mean, whether 20 minutes is too much, 30 minutes is too much, right? Initially, yes, okay. What we're trying to do is, I can tell you, right? I mean, a few weeks back, a couple of months back, like, I started yoga. and I'm particularly inflexible. Okay, I'm not much of a sports type. I used to play a little bit when I was young, but I'd rather stop doing much, over a period of time, right? And when I found, when I started yoga, I could barely, reach my knees and go beyond, right? And I came back the first day, I was hurting, right? I mean, many of you have gone to gym for the first time, it hurts, or you're playing sports for a long time, it hurts, right? I mean, but how do we really get flexible, right? I mean, is to keep at it a little by little, right? And if I'm already can do something, perhaps I don't even need to do it. Okay, but the very fact that I'm not able to do it is a sure sign that I need to be able to do it, and it takes a little practice to get there. That's one thing. The other thought here is that what really makes it difficult for us to sit in meditation is mental chatter, right? And that's where the second technique comes in, right? Which helps us create space within ourselves by removing whatever is contributing to that mental chatter, what we call impressions, right? And by doing that, what we do is we progressively are adding to our own ability to create mental space, and you'll find that the more that we're able to do cleaning at the end of the day's work, right? I mean, your mental chatter, your mental space increases and chatter comes down. And that will allow us to be able to meditate better, and vice versa, right? So it's kind of a positive feedback cycle, right? Where the cleaning on one evening, it helps you meditate better and be in focus better the next morning and do it longer. And the more you meditate, the more better you're able to clean, right? So that's how the system is built up, right? I mean, heartfulness, it really is a more of a holistic system, right? Where there are different techniques and all put together, it really helps us do what, right? What's the objective, right? It really helps us work on inner transformation and inner change. The whole idea of heartfulness is to really see if I've, through some techniques, through techniques which I can experience tangibly within myself, right? I mean, I can make myself better, become a better human being, weed out those negative qualities or unnecessary qualities in me, and really strengthen the positive qualities within me, right? I mean, anger, if it goes, if tolerance, okay, increases, okay, my patience increases, okay, my prejudice go down, my confidence increases, if I'm able to overcome fear, okay, and if I'm able to overcome some of my tendencies and my behavior, if I'm able to change my character towards the better, and most of all, build this inner quality of love. Because I sometimes find, the human being, at the core of the human being and the core of human qualities, right, is this thing called love, right? I mean, really speaking, sometimes I think love in humanity or human beings, right, is almost like gravity, okay, to the universe. Take out gravity, just imagine, I mean, most of us might have a science background, right? If you remove gravity, okay, from earth, what will happen, right? I mean, molecules will drift apart. I mean, atoms, or possibly even the elements of an atom will all drift apart, because there's nothing really to hold it together. If we take out this love, that element of feeling towards each other, I mean, if we take that out of an equation, we all just become transactional automatons, right? Where I'm giving something and you give me something, right? We're not able to elevate ourselves beyond, okay, the transactional level, right? And really speaking, it's my personal point of view, that, but for this element called love, what we see beautifully, between a mother and a child, and between couples, brother and sister, daughters, I mean, this really friends, this is what really keeps humanity together. How do we develop these positive qualities and overcome our limitations, right? And that's where the combination of cleaning and meditation, it helps us, right? I'll pause there. If there are any questions, right, we'll take a few questions, and then we'll actually experience the cleaning technique itself. Any questions on what I mentioned? Any questions? Okay, let's actually try it. Okay, if there are questions, we'll take it up after we experience the effect of cleaning itself. So again, like meditation, I'm going to guide you through the process. Okay, I will be speaking on and off. And all that you need to do is just try and do it as much as you can, right? And if you're finding it very difficult to keep your eyes closed, I mean, Mahesh or anybody else, open your eyes briefly. Okay, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Take a breath, close your eyes again, and continue, right? The idea is not to force ourselves to do this, right? All these heartfulness techniques, we are asked to do it very, very gently. If I gave you an infant to hold in your hands, right? I mean, how gently and how fragile the baby is, right? And how would you hold it, right? We ask that you hold yourself and work with yourself in exactly the same soft, tender manner, right? So if you find something difficult, no problem, just open your eyes, 10, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, close it again, and do as much as you can, right? With time, you will find that your ability, okay, to work with yourself increases, right? So with that, okay, I will walk you through the cleaning technique. Partha, can we start?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Go ahead, all of you. Just request you, just like the other day, sitting on your chair, just close your eyes gently. Just listen and follow along. Take a moment to observe how you feel at this time. We're going to be practicing the technique of cleaning with an objective to relieve ourselves of emotional baggages, which we term as complexities and impurities in our system. By doing this, our system will become pure and simple, and we'll be rid of emotional baggages. Let's get started. Gently bring your attention to the back of your body, from the top of your head down to your tailbone, and from side to side. Imagine that all complexities and impurities in your system are leaving your system through your back. These are leaving your system through your back in the form of smoke. Complexities and impurities which you have gathered through your thoughts and actions are leaving your system through your back in the form of smoke. Cleaning is a dynamic and continuous process. Just like when we open a tap, water continues to flow out of the tap till we close it. Similarly, once we've given the suggestion that complexities and impurities are flowing out of our back in the form of smoke, this process keeps continuing to happen. And more complexities and impurities are leaving our system. There's no need to focus on specific thoughts or emotions that you may have suffered. Whatever be the complexity and impurity and whatever be the source, just brush it off. Conviction and willpower are very important in this process of cleaning. So add conviction to your suggestion that complexities and impurities are leaving your system through your back in the form of smoke. If you settle down in this process, gently accelerate the process of cleaning. As complexities leave your system, it's helping your system become simple. As impurities leave your system, you're becoming pure. So by virtue of this cleaning process, by throwing out complexity and impurities, your system is becoming simple and pure. Please continue with this process of cleaning. Continue with this process for about 20 minutes roughly. As complexities and impurities leave your system, you will feel that there is a growing feeling of lightness in your system, that the burden is leaving you. Please continue with this for a few more minutes. When you start feeling this lightness in your system, it's an indication that we can now move to the next phase of cleaning. Gently shift your attention to a point or source in front of you. Make a suggestion that this process of cleaning is continuing while you shift your attention to a point in front of you. Again, make a suggestion that a current of purity is coming from this point in front of you and flowing into your hearts, filling the space that has been created within you. And as this current of purity comes into your heart, it's helping the process of cleaning as well by flushing out whatever complexities or impurities is remaining in the system. Make a suggestion that this purity, which you're receiving in your hearts, is spreading to every nook and corner of your body. Is flowing into every cell in your body, making it pure and simple. When you do it at home, the second phase of cleaning you would do for about 5 minutes. Once you feel you're done, we can start to wind down the process of cleaning. Bring yourself and your attention back to the room in which you're seated. Continue to keep your eyes closed. Feel this lightness and space that's been created within you and savor the feeling. Let us close the cleaning with a very gentle but gentle suggestion with conviction that all complexities and impurities in my system have left me, and that my entire system is now pure and simple. You will gently and slowly open your eyes. So what we went through was the cleaning technique, okay? And this is how you practice it. I'll be able to send you some practice videos to help guide you during the first few weeks, and then you should be able to do it yourself. But let me pause there. Let's go around quickly. How do you feel now, and what was your experience? Whatever you felt, feel free to express it in the same way.
Sriram, this is Ram here.
Yeah, Ram.
I have never thought that you can go through an inner cleaning. To be frank, because we are all used to, as you said, all type of external cleaning. This is really good, and I feel that if I do the meditation in the morning and the cleaning process in the evening, definitely it will improve so many ways. My perspective of everything I can tell you. So thanks for this.
Thank you, Ram. Yeah. Others?
So, Sriram, so mine's an observation, I guess. I've never really thought about the inner cleaning part of it, but I guess what I've been doing, so if I have a stressful day or an emotional day or whatever, I tend to go for a run. So at the beginning of the run, everything goes in my mind. I'm still very active in my mind. And then as the run gets longer and I get tireder, I tend to forget and kind of relax a bit more in the mind rather than because I think all the energy is then going into the physical part of me.
Right. But
this is, I've never really thought about spending time just cleaning the mind.
Right.
It's interesting.
It's a very good observation. Who is the one speaking now?
It's Mahesh.
Mahesh, yeah. Okay, Mahesh. It's a very good observation. I'll come back to it in a minute, but let's hear a few more observations. Yeah. Any other observations, please? Feel free to share, because whatever you feel, that is the truth for you, right? And I'm not looking for any specific answers, right? I just want to hear how you feel at this time. Yeah. Someone else? Okay. I'm sorry, but I'm not able to see your faces. Here I am sitting in my room and speaking, right? And I think it would definitely help to make this a little interactive because I'll get feedback and I can tune my session also appropriately. Yeah. But we'll move on, right? So the factors, okay, the body, the mind, and our deeper emotions, it's a continuum. What we do in our body, they say psychosomatic diseases, for example, right? I mean, it's the mind which is creating diseases in the body, and vice versa. They say, like, meaning a fit mind and a fit body, right? I mean, so each one, whatever we do, for example, if we get physically hurt, we get mentally bogged down, right? And it happens, right? I cut myself, I break a hand or whatever, right? I mean, and mentally, like, I feel down, depressed, I feel enervated. Okay, so obviously this is a continuum, right? And and so what you do in one part of the body has a ripple effect on the other part. I mean, what you do in one part of the human system, let's say physical, right, it does have a ripple effect on the other parts of the human system, maybe the mind or deeper emotions, your inner self, and so on, right? So Mahesh, your observation is valid. I mean, sometimes when I feel really down, like, I take a long walk, right, and it definitely helps lift my spirits, right? Having said that, typically, okay, we are best responding to the need, okay, in some part of my system, by responding in the same plane. For example, right, uh, I feel hungry, I can't read a book, okay, and expect that I mean, it's possibly a bad example, I'm just making it up as I go, okay, but if I feel hunger, okay, I should eat and nourish my body at the physical level. Okay, if I feel like, the thirst for knowledge, I need to go read a book and so on, right? So that directly deals with the situation or the need in the plane in which the requirement is, right? So there is a cross effect, it's absolutely right. But having said that, if we are able to deal with it in the same plane, then, like, it's really so much better, right? And so this technique of cleaning, okay, my ask is, just try it for a few days, right? Take 20 minutes once you go back, and sit down, like, and try this, right? And I will send a video to Partha which you can share with all of you. It's on YouTube on the Heartfulness channel, and it will guide you for about 20-22 minutes, right, to start with, right? And after a couple of weeks you don't need it anymore, you can do it yourself, right? It takes a little practice to do this, right? But to me, I'll just close with, I took a sabbatical for a year, and I was in Kenya, okay, teaching a lot of youth, okay, from very, very disadvantaged background, right? I mean, heartfulness tools of cleaning and meditation. And one of the facilitators there, he said something which was possibly the best statement, right, on cleaning. He said, Sriram, like, I to me, what cleaning means is that, like, that I might have had a bad day, but I don't need to have a bad night, right? If I'm able to use this tool, this technique that is given to me, to almost like wipe my mental, emotional state clean, then when I go back home, I can interact with my loved ones, my near and dear ones, right? And I can really transmit, like, the peace and serenity within me, rather than carrying my day and letting it bleed into the evening and the night, right? This is the possibility that cleaning affords to us, right? And that is the invitation, right, for you to practice and really incorporate this one element in our lives, like, which can be transformational in nature, right? Cleaning and meditation are different techniques. Meditation is really helps build focus, right? We are able to, through a practice over a period of time, come to a state of effortless focus. But cleaning, what it does is, all the emotional baggage, it leads to a lot of mental chatter, and it basically rarefies that inner space within myself, like, by removing the mental effect or the emotional effect, right, that that i I have on myself, right? And that's really what cleaning affords for us. And these two are complementary. I'll give you one example, right? I did mention that the whole purpose of the journey of heartfulness is geared towards one thing, and that is really how we can transform ourselves inside out. We can change ourselves, like, by weeding out the negative qualities and building these positive qualities within us, right? And how does this change happen? If I've got to go from A to B, metaphorically speaking, I've got to move myself forward. There's got to be some momentum, okay, some force to move forward, and I've got to let go of all the things that's holding me back. And that is how meditation and cleaning helps, right? Meditation helps harness this potential that's within us, like, and helps us move forward and transform ourselves. And cleaning, on the other side, whatever be the baggage that we've got from the past, yesterday, last year, 10 years back, we don't know, right? I mean, we've been accumulating it constantly, right? But it erases this burden. It's almost like, taking away, okay, let's say there is a balloon. Okay, this is the best analogy I have, right? Let's say there's a hot air balloon. You're firing your whatever, right? I mean, burner, okay, and it's releasing hot air into the balloon itself, but it's not going up because, like, it's anchored down there with weights, tied to stones, with ropes and so on, right? What you need to do is not just gun your burner, but you also, like, need to remove the dead weight, right? I mean, and you need to remove those ropes tied to the ground, and that's what allows you to raise, that's how transformation happens. And that's how, like, these two techniques of cleaning and meditation really comes together, right? To really help us start moving, okay, within ourselves and bringing about inner change towards what? Towards a better tomorrow, towards a better Sriram for myself, towards a better Mahesh, towards a better Ram. Okay, for us to become better tomorrow than what we are today, and perhaps something much better, like, okay, a month or a year down the line, right? So that's really what Heartfulness is about, right? I'll stop there. Okay, I think Partha, you had some mentee survey or something like that, right? I think probably on the hour. Okay, but so my ask is, like, if you can go to the last slide, Partha, right? I want you to really experiment with this, right? I mean, not just take my word for it, right? If you can, I'll send you the video tonight, the practice video, but try cleaning for 3 evenings, right? And try to write down in a journal, okay, in terms of what difference it's made, okay? And how did your evening, was it any different? And do not practice cleaning for the other days, right? You try and you see if there's a tangible or some kind of intangible difference which you're able to perceive but not able to put in words, right? That will help you, okay, really understand what Heartfulness can do for you, right? I'll stop there. If there are any questions, I'll take it now. Otherwise, I'll hand it over to Partha. Any questions?
Sriram, it's Mahesh. Is there a better time to do meditation? Is it better in the morning or evening, or is it entirely up to oneself to?
Yeah, meditation is best done in the morning. Ideally, the first thing in the morning, the earlier the better, right? I mean, again, I want you to experiment, right? I mean, if you're a person who wakes up early, try meditating at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? For 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you're able to do, 5 minutes, if that's all that you're able to start with, right? And do it in the morning, and then do it at 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock, right? I mean, or in the afternoon, 2 o'clock or whatever, right? See what works for you. It is recommended that meditation is done first thing in the morning, so that effect that we get, the focus, the state of serenity, we carry through the day. Cleaning is recommended to be done in the evening because we've added this emotional baggage and dead weight to ourselves during the day. At the end of the day, I clean my slate, I move on with my evening and night, right? And then the next morning, okay, I come back.
Okay.
Yep. So that's really the cycle. That's how it works. So try it for yourself, okay, and see what works best for you. But in case you're not able to do it first thing in the morning, do it whenever you can, right? It could be a 7 o'clock, 6:30, 8:30, whatever works for you, right? I mean, that's what we say. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Sriram, this is Kishore here.
Yeah, Kishore.
You mentioned, I think, probably meditation you do first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Probably around half an hour of meditation.
Yeah.
And cleaning at the end of the day for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So we are talking close to 1 hour on spending.
Yes.
So how do you, I think you suggest in terms of finding time? Because
yeah. So it's a good question, Kishore. Okay, absolutely right. I mean, does it take time? It takes time, right? I see this as an investment of time. Okay, and in yourself. Okay, we invest time for everybody else. We take time for everybody else, right? I mean, this is a ask for you to take time for yourself, right? But where do we find the time? This is a valid question, Kishore, right? I'll tell you, right? I mean, I run some retreats, okay, where I stay in Chennai, right? I run some retreats for corporate people, right? I mean, once in a couple of months for over a weekend, right? There was a guy who came from HCL, right? One of these IT companies, right? And he's been practicing for a few months, 4 to 6 months, right? And at the beginning of the workshop on Saturday morning, I asked people, right, what's been your takeaway from mindfulness, right? And this guy who's been practicing for a few months, he said, Sriram, for me, the biggest takeaway is that, what work used to take me 8 hours during the day, I'm able to finish in 4 to 5 hours now, right? So just kind of pause to think about that, right? I mean, when we are able to reduce the mental chatter, when we are able to focus better, it does make us far more productive than what we have ever been, perhaps, right? So in my experience, Kishore, right, I mean, it absolutely needs an investment of time, right? Without which this will go nowhere, right? But in my experience, net, it seems to give me back time rather than take away time, right? I mean, and so you put an hour, you get 3 hours back. I mean, this is just an example, right? But try it for yourself, right? I'll just mention a 2-minute anecdote, right? I mean, there were these two guys, who were sawing a big log of wood. Okay, it's like the huge saw, two people sit on two sides and the band saw, and they were pulling and pushing, right? And somebody walks up and is just observing what these guys are doing, right? And he says, hey guys, can I tell you something? The wood is so huge. Okay, I think your saw is blunt, right? Why don't you take a few minutes to sharpen your saw, and I think it'll work much better. And these two guys look up and say, are you crazy? Can't you see how much work we have and how much wood we have to saw? We don't have time, to take and sharpen the saw, right? I mean, it's meant to be a joke, okay? But I think, it kind of makes a point, right?
Yeah, I think
How do we
thanks,
sharpen
Sriram.
our saw, right? How do we sharpen the tools with which we work 15, 16 hours of the day, our mind, our emotions, our feelings, right? If we sharpen it, will it not have a ripple effect, right? Kishore, I'll rest my case there, but it's really for you to try and really see, if this bears out in your experience.
No, thanks, Sriram, I think, for explaining in detail. And I think this analogy was really
Yeah. Okay. I think we'll close this session here. Next week, what we're going to do is recap, okay, meditation and cleaning with some of the associated aspects, and which helps us understand this better. We'll make it more interactive. Okay, please, if you have any questions or any observations from your practice over the next week, do bring it to next week. Next week, we will settle down this basic practice, and then, we'll get into the 10-week module itself. Huh? Partha, I'll hand over to you.
Sriram, in the interest of time, let us do the mentee survey next week.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
If it is all right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.